Ladies and gentlemen, wadaus and wadauet, how will it be? Kama K, kama kawa, this is John Duty on Life MAJUU. Na leo, bro, tumetafutana for how long?
Over a week.
Hey, wazee kama wiki bana. You guys sometimes mnaonaga show inakuja hapa on air, preparation iko on the background ni ya kimataifa.
Mazee.
Yeah, but I'm glad finally we made it. Please introduce yourself, our guest today.
My name is Moses Ondeche.
Moses
Ondeche ni mkazi wa Kisumu lakini nasafiri kila mahali. I am project manager by profession.
Okay.
And at the moment in this whole journey of immigrating to the US. So.
Hey, and as a project manager, which is a very tough career, and you're already in the journey of immigrating to the US, also a very tough process. How come ume relax hivi bana? Yani, I would expect nipate jamaa mwenye ameshikwa na wasiwasi mbaya. How come you're this cool? How's project management, and how did you find yourself in this journey of immigrating to the US?
I've been a project manager since I did project management for over 10 years now. So it's something I've learned to adapt.
Okay.
But yes, I think in working in the NGO sector, you get a lot of experiences that help you to stay calm under pressure. So for me, I think I've always been a person who is always trying to discover and learn. And so thankful to you, Joe.
Yeah.
And, so many other people who online have done a lot, like the Kenyan American Home. I follow him a lot.
Yeah.
Just to be able to understand a lot more about Kenyans' experience in the US. So I think for me, that has really helped me to stay calm, even as I navigate this whole journey. I mean, this started during COVID, when
during COVID?
Yes.
Take us back, kidogo. I know me and you, we've spoken a little bit on the background, but for our viewers who are just joining in today, you've mentioned that as a project manager, umepata a lot of experience on how to navigate unfamiliar territories. And in my journey, I've always explained on how tough this process is. Yeah. And now umesema that you dream ya kuondokea block ilianza during COVID. It's a long game. How did it start, and how did you start pursuing? Is it the IR1 visa? First of all, maybe you can tell us what's an IR1 visa, and how did you come about it and start pursuing it?
So the IR1 visa is a spousal visa. It's basically a green card for a spouse of an American to immigrate to the US. So you arrive and you are able to work, you are able to basically exist as a green card holder from day one. So in itself, it takes around 2 weeks to kind of get things going, get your documentation, and then you're set and ready to work and things like that. So for me, this whole journey started in 2020, yes. So when COVID hit, my wife and I were dating at that point, and so we started pursuing the visitor's visa. This was after we got engaged, and we were like, hey, why don't you come, me visit her in the US and spend time with her family as well, get to know family and things like that before we plan our wedding. So that's how it started. Well, I applied for the visa, I went for my interview, and I was denied. So that was the first thing that happened.
You got your first heartbreak at the embassy, and you already were engaged.
Yes, we were engaged, and we felt like since our family has already been here, and at that point I'd already made some trips across the country, across the continent and even to Asia. So it was like my passport in itself already has, a stamp. So it's like, it should be easy. But no, it didn't happen. So first heartbreak, we went back to the drawing board. And so after that, we decided, hey, we're just going to plan our wedding here, have a destination wedding, have our her family travel and friends, and have it in a place where they could also enjoy being in Kenya and enjoy that time. So yeah, we decided to have it in the coast, had family come, and it was nice. And so after that, we were like, wait, let's now start the journey of spousal visa immigration. And so that's when it kicked in at the end of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
We started the process. We started the process in 2023 January.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we did the application, of course, it requires all this documentation. Back in the US, of course, with the NVC process, it started, and then so it was at the beginning of last year, which is 2024, in March, that we got our approval that our process has gone to the next stage, which is now waiting for an interview date.
Wow.
And so yes, so that in itself was like an answered prayer, because hey man, you just never know what happens in this process. When you start and you get to that point, you're like, wait, big milestone. So that was a milestone for us. And then we have been waiting ever since for an interview date, which means from the US it has to come to the Kenyan embassy. The US embassy in Kenya has to find a date for us, and then after they do that, the NVC back in the US now can send or move the case to Kenya now for us to go for the interview.
No, what's interesting about your case, this is the first time I'm actually interviewing anyone who's going through the spousal visa route. And from my previous interviews, most of my potential immigrants or who are pursuing the dream, most of them usually believe that the spousal visa or the fiancé visa is the easiest and the fastest. It's the easiest and the fastest. In fact, people tell me, Joe, you should find me a mzungu over there, because if I find a mzungu here, I'll be in America in 3 months. That in 3 months straight, I'll be in the US. So
no.
I'm surprised that you've been in the game now for 4 years and you're still pushing strong. How did you have like different expectations? Did you think that it would just be a walk in the park?
No, I'm so glad that we had the opportunity of talking to an attorney back in the US.
Right.
And I remember what she told us from the beginning was that the spousal visa, the fiancé visa, the process timeline is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So what she advised us to do is take the most effective route, and that is the spousal visa. Because the fiancé visa, yes, you can apply for it, but it's not as high of priority as the spousal visa. So that's the route we took, because again, we're thinking if we go for the fiancé visa, we have 90 days to get married in the US. And after that, there are limitations. Yeah, you have 90 days to get married in the US once you land. And then after that, you also have to wait for you to receive your all your documentation to be able to like work and things like that. It takes a longer time. And also you're not free enough to apply for citizenship. It's shorter for spousal visa. It's like within 3 years you can apply for one. But with a fiancé visa, you have to wait 5 years.
Honestly, I didn't know there was a difference between spousal visa and fiancé visa. I thought it's the same thing.
No, there's some huge differences in them.
What's the main difference between the two? Could you just give us a clear picture on how that works?
Okay, so the process is the same in terms of applying.
Okay.
But what happens is when you go for a fiancé visa, there are more limitations around what you can do. So a good example is when you can land to the US, of course, as I said, you have 90 days to get married. There's limitations about travel as well. So if you land, there's a limitation as to when you can travel out the country. So leaving the US, there are limitations around when you can leave. And also, of course, when it comes to now getting your actual documentation, like your social security number and things like that, it takes a bit longer on a spousal visa. But I mean, on a fiancé visa, but on a spousal visa, if someone lands with a spousal visa, they can work within 2 weeks of landing, because that's just processing their documentation to start. They can get their driving license. So it's just a more robustly effective route. So yeah, there are limitations within the spousal visa that are not, the fiancé visa that are not within the spousal visa.
So basically the fiancé visa, things happen so fast.
Yeah, things happen so fast. But then again, things take longer when it comes to now being able to drive or being able to get your social security number, being able to work. It just takes longer than a spousal visa. I land, and hopefully I'm when I do, then I can be able to like work and things like that.
All right. And at this point, you guys are not fiancés, you're already married, correct?
Oh yes, yeah. We got married at the end of 2022, and so yeah, we're married now for we're like 2 years now. Around 2 years, yeah.
Oh, I see. Now I think I see what you mean. Most of the time when I talk about this immigration stuff, and for our viewers all over the world, please note that we are not immigration attorneys. We are just
we're not.
Yeah, these are personal experiences. So when I talk about my process, which was mostly an immigrant diversity visa, most people might think that I am familiar with all these other visas. So from what basically I'm getting is, for fiancé visa, you've met someone, you want to get married to this person, and one of the person is a US citizen. You have the person who's outside the US has to travel to the US, and they have to get married within 90 days.
Yeah.
For it to be legit, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and but for spousal visa, you get married and then start the process. Now you say, I have a spouse outside the country, and I would like them to come to the US.
Yeah.
And I think that there's no deadline, or you're not being harakishwad because you already got married, but give or take, the process is more solid because there's a legal document in place.
Yeah.
Wow. Who encouraged you to seek legal advice? Most people don't go through that route.
I think, well, to be honest, it was my wife. She really wanted it to go the right way and to make it more effective.
Yeah.
And so she believed it was good for us to work with an immigration attorney. Wow. Which I think for many people, if you don't necessarily know the process, I think it's worth it if you can get some advice from an attorney who understands the process. It just alleviates a lot more pressure on yourself to get the right documents. And again, hey, I'm not a specialist in this or have any experience, but many people would say it's easy for you to do it on your own, which many people have done, and it's great. But for our case, we believed it was good to connect with an attorney who would give us the right direction on what to do, and also navigating things like now with the political changes within the US.
Exactly.
It's good to have somebody who has a deeper understanding of what would change and when, so that you're also prepared.
Makes sense, yeah. Especially with the politics, you never know. And I usually advocate for do it yourself, but those are the kinds of visas that you can do it yourself are like the green card. You know, the green card is straightforward. You've been selected, fill your document, just send the document. But anything that has to do with another person somewhere else in the different world, definitely you need help. But take us back kidogo. I want to hear more about your denial because the first time you stepped your feet inside the embassy and they told you, bro, not today. And you have an extensive travel history. So most people will be like, bro, I've traveled. So why would you deny me? And at the time, she was your fiancée.
Yeah.
How was that? What did they say at the embassy? Like, what was the reason?
So I'll start off with the whole experience. It was my first time in the U.S. embassy in Kenya. And so I really wanted it to go right. So I had every document, I had all the things I needed.
Yeah.
Of course, you go through the screening, you leave whatever electronics you have, you go in, you have this waiting area, and you wait until you're called.
Yeah.
So once they call your number, you go in, and I just went there, had a big smile, answered the questions, and it took less than 3 minutes, and it was done.
They had already decided before you got there.
Yeah, the guy was like, "Well, it is a denial," and it was. I mean, of course, they gave me the pink slip, so you know for sure this is gone. But the reason was because I did not have strong ties in Kenya.
What do you mean? You have a job. I think most of the time they look for someone who's like has a career, something going on with their life.
Yeah, it was strongly because I didn't have strong ties in Kenya, which was not that clear. So,
well, in terms of strong ties, what are they looking for to show that you have strong ties?
From my understanding and talking to other people, it's in regards to do you have any kind of do they strongly believe that you will not like stick in the US, like you have
something that will
family ties, or you know, there's like property, or you even have like maybe a lease or something, like all these other, there's a handful of things they look at, but it wasn't necessarily clear at what specific thing. But it was basically just around the fact that I didn't have strong ties. Basically, they didn't believe that I would, of course, come back to Kenya or was getting stuck there. But again, I understand, because at that point, it was very clear that our relationship was in a different level as a couple. And so I believe they just wanted me to go the right direction. Don't confuse things. Don't go for a visitor visa when we know for sure that if you guys are engaged and will get married, the goal is to immigrate. So just go for the right one. You know, basically that's it. Go for the right one.
Don't go for the visit visa and then you get
and then get there. And I know that, I mean, I don't know specifically, but I've heard of people who have done that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's worked for them, but I think they really want things to be done the right way. And so for us, it was like, wait, this is a game changer. I guess we don't necessarily need to beat around the bush. Just go straight for what they want us to go for, and that is either the fiancé or the spousal visa.
Yeah, I agree, Manze. And the visit visa, US is a crazy place in terms of lifestyle. Maybe it's even way much better if you come here already have completed the spousal process, because getting here with a visit visa, what work or job, you have a timeline, you need to go back. I feel that was a good move, and already they know people who say they want to go visit, and then wakifika huko they change the rules of the game.
Exactly.
Wow. Man, first of all, you are like a living witness, living testimony for someone who had a fiancé who's an American citizen and got denied. Number one. So thank you for breaking that myth that wewe ukipatana na mtu ako MAJUU, yours is a direct ticket.
No, actually, in fact, if you do, I think it's even more of a, what do you call it, a red flag for them.
It's a red flag, yeah.
Because I believe now they want to know if it's actually a bona fide relationship.
Okay.
And by bona fide, of course, I mean it is a real relationship, like it's authentic. Right. Because many people have used that as a way of getting to the US and then getting stuck there because they came in on false pretense that they were married.
Right.
Yeah, it's a relationship.
In terms of proving if it's a real relationship, do they ask like for pictures, or how do they know?
Yeah, for us at the moment, it's preparing all the documentation, and most of them are pictures, experiences that you have together. So are you actually having life experiences together? They look at things like, I mean, for us, we are preparing even our own text messages from even before 2020. So it's like you're putting together all this evidence,
right,
of the fact that it is a real relationship, because for them, that's all they need to be able to know that it's actually a real relationship. And I'm grateful because my wife's job, where she works in the US, she can work remote, so she travels and comes to Kenya for a few months a year.
Yeah.
So that helps us to have that, like just have life experiences together. That helps with the case, really.
Yeah. She's able to work remotely even when in Kenya.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a flex. That's a flex. That's what most Africans now are looking for.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I've had friends who've like gotten jobs to go to like Norway and other countries.
Yeah.
And they started remote here in Kenya. So man, it's beneficial.
It's beneficial. So what I think based on your explanation, then all those girls and all those guys in Kenya and in Africa who are waiting for summer bunnies to come spend 2 weeks with them, and then hoping that they will get married and go to the US. It doesn't work like that.
No, it does not.
It's not a 2 weeks game.
No, it's not a 2 weeks game. You have to commit, and you have to commit real time, man.
Yeah, they need to see history of the relationship. Not just someone landed 2 weeks and then you're going to the embassy and say, now me and this person have a thing.
No. I think for me, I've seen people who have gone through almost the same experience, and it's been 3.5 years. So it's a journey. I mean, thanks to people like you, we're able to like learn more about the experience of others.
Yeah.
As they navigate that journey, but also when they get to the US, what's that like? Because now, you know, as we were talking earlier, man, you come to realize again, wait a minute, this is one crazy rat race.
It is a crazy rat race. It is.
Yeah.
I would say for anyone who wants to come to the US, it's a great place, great opportunities, a lot of opportunities. And especially for the people who want to come to the US the right way with the proper documentation, the sky is the limit for you. The sky is not even the limit for you. You can join Elon Musk and go to Mars if you want. So it's a great exposure. So everyone would benefit from coming here. But it is a rat race. So the moment you get here, it's important to realize that the system will use you. So how do you use the system? You know, it's Kanye West who says everyone uses. We all get used. The problem is to be misused.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone is using somebody. The only problem is when somebody starts misusing the other one. Because he was saying that in an interview, and he was like, "You people are using me for your news and your content, and I am using you for my publicity because I'm an artist." So we all use each other. The problem is when someone starts misusing the other person.
Exactly.
So when you come here, I think my idea of American dream, I thought initially, because I was naive, I thought it would just be me getting. Just give me the dollars. Give me the dollars. And then I came here and realized that the system will use me so much. So how can I benefit from this system too? So
right.
Yeah, so it's a mutually benefiting relationship, I would say that.
Wow.
And I'm glad that by sharing my experiences, people like you are able to, to learn a thing or two, because I did not know I was not watching anybody before I came. I just came
Right.
Malatu.
Wow. So you learned the hard way.
I learned the hard way. I learned through my experiences.
Oh my gosh, man. That is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
easy. That
Yeah,
is not easy.
it's crazy. But tell me about the interview process. Do they require the spouse who's not in the country, living in the country, to come all the way to Kenya for the interview?
From my understanding, there are two ways to this.
Mm-hmm.
You can either be, it is not expected for the American spouse to be in the interview,
Okay.
even though it is also allowed that if the spouse in the US is in country when the interview is done, that they can do the interview with both of you. Now, the advantage with that is they are able to actually see from both you and your spouse how real this is.
Okay.
If they interview one person, they have the advantage of understanding from one person's perspective, which is of course the person who is now like me, who's applying. But if they have both of us, then they have the applicant and the petitioner as well. So I think that there's a dynamic in that also can either be beneficial or can play against you, depending on how authentic your relationship is.
Yeah, is it true that they put you guys when you're being interviewed together? Is it true that they put you in separate rooms to see if the story matches?
From my understanding, there are cases that they do that. Yes.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, yes, from the attorney, there are situations where they could probably say, "Hey, we need you guys in separate rooms," so that they can actually get some clear understanding if you guys have the same understanding of things, or records, history, are they the same or they're different. So if they have a feel that there's something you guys are like playing like some kind of game in terms of they can't be clear on some things, they would definitely separate you. But yeah, there are situations they've done that. I know in country in the US they do that quite a lot in terms of if already the spouse is in the country, then both of them go into an interview together.
Damn. You can't make this stuff up. It just has to be legit.
Yeah, it has to be legit. Those guys are very serious about it.
Yeah. Let me go to the questions a little bit. First of all, is to welcome you guys, Kina PK Kamakawa. PK is a top. PK is a top subscriber and viewer. The Paps family, I see you, and Sowi, I see you, and Lukman, karibuni sana. So PK was asking, for example, the process has already started and things go south on your relationship. What happens now?
Oh, so they've already started the process, and then
things just don't work out along the way. And before maybe you answer, I'd like to note that I think even the way they lengthen the process, like a 3-year wait time is a lot of time to even test a relationship.
Yeah.
Because apart from the process, there are other things that are going on in the relationship.
Yeah. Right.
So a 3-year wait time, 2-year wait time, if it's not real, you guys will not even make it to the end. So and I'm sure there are people who start the process and in between they just things don't just work out. How what's your view on if the process is on and things just don't work out?
From the question, I can see the second part is how does that affect her and when she wants to fly back to the States. From what I've kind of gathered in this whole process is when the process has already started. Of course, when it's still in the US, there's a center where it exists. And when it's still in that center and the process has already begun, and maybe you guys have a fight, or at some point cannot reconcile and decide to either separate or you want to divorce. Now, unless the petitioner decides to communicate and say, hey, this process should be stopped or whatever, even with that, the person who has applied or is applying from a foreign country can still go through the process to the interview and make that clear to them as to what's going on and what needs to happen going forward. They will be able to decide if to deny or approve. Right. But at the end of the day, it will be treated uniquely different. And I think again, I'm not an attorney, so don't quote me. But from what I've gathered is that the process can still continue up to the interview, but it's up until then that the decision will be made if you will be immigrating and within what kind of, like, how will you exist, in which kind of visa will you be under.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just depends. Every case is unique.
Yeah, every case is unique.
Yeah.
And it's up until the interview, when they interview you, that they will be able to know.
Yeah, PK is also a super fan. Thank you for promoting the channel. Big up yourself. Told you PK is our #1 G here.
Awesome.
Zoe is watching from Gambia. Big up yourself, Zoe.
Awesome.
So Lukman was wondering about the massive deportation and the increase of denial rate in your circles. I know once you start the process, most of the time, you usually have a circle of friends or people who are going through the same situation. What's the air like right now? The feeling like about denials up for embassy. What are you gathering from the ground?
From the ground in Kenya.
Yeah.
It's not. I think it from even our discussion earlier.
Yeah.
The concern for, like, visas also have priorities. So the higher the priority for a specific visa, the harder it is, especially with the changes that are happening right now, the harder it is to, like, affect it in any way, especially in terms of stopping or things like that. So the lower they are in priority, and of course, I'm not necessarily conversant with the priority right now. I just know that, spousal or fiance visas are, like, higher up because they are more permanent. We understand, they understand and know that you are coming here and the reasons why you're coming.
Yeah.
But now, like, as you were sharing earlier, when it comes to, like, education,
F1 is not a priority.
F1 is not. They're not a priority. So at the end, they might be affected. And I think you've mentioned, like, some of the things are already happening.
Yeah, they're already happening. I was mentioning earlier that certain universities across the US right now, they are okay, not right now per se, before the semester started, because this semester started, some colleges like James Madison started this week, some started last week classes, but before classes started, some universities were calling their students, international students, emailing them to return to the country before Jan 19, before the inauguration of Trump. So they were telling them, hey, make sure you're back before this date, because you never know on day one what that guy will do. He might say, don't allow them in again, So F1 is a little bit shaky. But again, on F1, I usually say if you're coming as an F1, as a STEM student, they will look at you as a potential asset, because the US is always pro-tech, pro-science. So they want you to remain here after you study. So there's always that opportunity if you're in tech and mathematics and science. The other low priority is family-based for siblings, sisters, like a US citizen. If you're applying for your siblings who are under the age of 25 and unmarried, bro, your key to it can even take 5-6 years. That is one of the lowest priorities. So you'll be, and maybe this goes to people who keep on asking, hey, Woko USA, why have you not applied for us or applied for your siblings, your brothers and sisters? You can apply, but it's a low priority. It can take forever. I know actually a Somali friend of mine took 9 years. 9 years. They applied when they were in primary school, and they came here when they were almost going to college. So,
Wow.
so yeah, those are definitely low priorities.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. PK also asked about your experience of meeting your spouse, because most of my viewers usually ask me, how can I meet these Americanos? Oh, and be in America in 3 months, in
Right.
three
Oh man.
in
Wow.
3 straight months. So, unajua machuom, where can you meet foreign nationals?
Well, this is interesting. I mean, I work in the NGO world, so I mean, you meet so many people from so many countries.
Yeah.
But for me, we met at a previous job. That's funny. Yeah, we met at a different NGO that I was working for, that I worked for around 5-6 years. So she was doing the same job I was doing in Kenya, but she was doing it in the US. So we did a lot of communication at the beginning, and then yeah, after that we were friends for a while, for a long time actually, since 2015, and then it's up until 2020 that we started dating and stuff. So yeah, for me it was just a previous working environment, and I mean in the NGO world, and again now I mean I would honestly say Kenya is becoming very diverse, especially if you are in the capital, Nairobi. You will experience and see people from so many different cultures and different countries. So, in itself, it's just, I honestly say for anyone, you know, it's just vile tunasema ni kujitoa. It's just it's about you just putting yourself out there and being confident. You know? I mean, confident in yourself, and also knowing who you really want to like engage with. So
Right. Yeah. Don't just wait, sit and wait that it will come to you.
no.
You have to pursue, just like you pursue opportunities in employment, even in
Yeah.
relationships, you just pursue them the same way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So PK, yeah, please, toka kwa nyumba. PK, I think, is in somewhere in the Middle East. PK, you will never meet for American nationals in Middle East. Yeah, because I think Middle East is one of those places where, as an American, if you travel with an American passport, they're usually very against visiting some countries because of security, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So PK, itabidi umebadilisha destination kidogo. Yeah. Hey, Manze, Moses, I wish you all the best in your process, and thank you for sharing with us through the journey. What are the challenges, during that 4-year process? Because if you started in 2020, it's almost now 4 years are done. So what are the major downsides and challenges, the lowest moments you've encountered in the process that you felt like, damn, this thing, man, why are they giving me a hard time like this?
Well, if I talk about the visiting visa, that one, I mean, it was a 50-50. It's either you get it or not.
Right.
So for that, I can say that one is just it's a hit or miss.
Yeah.
And either just give you or not. I remember when I went for my interview, there were like we had like around 4 or 5 Chinese citizens who were applying for US visas as well. And a lot of us, all of us, got denied. So, I mean, in itself, we're like, wait, maybe they just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. But anyway, all that to say that it's uncertain. You just don't know. But with the spousal visa, I think it was just, for us, it was more intentional from the beginning. Like, that's what we want to go for. It's more clear to them that it's a journey or what direction you want to take. and they know that from the word go, so it kind of helps in one way or the other. But I think the challenges that we've kind of had is like to ensure that we are constantly, just living life and having evidence to help us in the process. And the evidence is not the goal; it's more of, can we still connect? Because I mean, it can be bloody expensive to like be traveling quite a lot, and she's making those trips every year. So I appreciate the fact that her job gives her the opportunity to do that. So the struggle is more on the waiting. It's very uncertain as well. You're never told, of course, in this interview visa process, you're never told, like, you will wait for 6 months and then you will get this. It's not very clear. So you just have to keep waiting. And I feel like for anything that is more permanent, in terms of permanent residency, the the waiting can last longer than you expect. And now, of course, because of the backlog we have, all you can do is ask the National Visa Center, hey, when do we expect, or what's the status when it comes to interviews that are being done now? And I remember that was something that we kind of followed up on as well, which I think many people don't necessarily know they can. But you can always ask, like, hey, what is the status of interviews in Kenya, especially for U.S. permanent resident visas, and they can just tell you, hey, we're now actually servicing cases that were approved on this specific month. So, like at this point, we still know like they're still further back in 2024.
Oh wow!
So still a waiting process. But again, every time we have any political issues in the country, that day they're not going to be at work. So that means the interviews that didn't happen, and they have to reschedule them. So at the end of the day, it's a process that for sure when other things happen, it most likely extends the whole process. But yeah, so the uncertainty is something that you just never know when it will happen, but when it does, you know that eventually there will be joy at the end.
Correct. Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned getting in touch with NVC, the Visa Center, because one of the major mistakes most applicants do is not communicating with the NVC or KCC in terms when it comes to the diversity visa. It's KCC, I believe. I'm not sure. So communicate, send them an email. Calling is not very much advisable. They may not pick up your call. Shoot them an email. Be polite. Be professional. Most of the time they will respond. Just follow up. Don't just wait and expect magic to happen. True. Give them pressure, a little bit of pressure.
Exactly.
So that they can know that you're waiting.
Yeah.
And those are good insights. And they any final words for anyone who's going through any process, not just the spousal or fiancé or marriage-based, any type of visa, based on your experience with the embassy? What's your parting shot on whoever is just having a hard time with the waiting? Because waiting is the hardest part. Yeah.
I would say, from my own personal experience and seeing other people, is just expect the worst and prepare for the best.
Lower your expectations.
Lower your expectations in terms of how long it will take. But then always just also expect like things will get better eventually. For me, what has really also helped me is following people online who have either gone through the same experience or have gone through a different experience but with the same end goal. Being in immigrating in a different country, and especially Kenyans. Like I salute you guys, like Kenyans who have gone before others, like your experiences and sharing them, have really helps us. And I know from my experience, it's probably very, very similar to the Kenyan American home. And that page, I follow him, like I've followed him and I've watched his videos from way back.
Yeah.
Just because he probably he did go through the same experience of having to immigrate to the US. And I think he did go through the same spousal visa journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just being able to see and experience and see other Kenyans who have experienced the same thing. I think it just builds a lot of encouragement as well, to be encouraged throughout the process, because it can be a very lonely journey. But just knowing that the other people who have gone through the same journey can give you like the encouragement to keep going and waiting.
Yeah, what I take from that is information seeking. Be ready to seek that information, because I see so many people on my email or DM asking me questions, and sometimes because of the timelines, I'm not able to answer on time, or maybe I'm busy. But some of the questions, in my view, are usually things that someone, if you can ask me, where is Mutindwa Soko, and I don't know where Mutindwa Soko is, I'll just Google where is Mutindwa Soko, right? So some of the information I get is not based on a specific experience, so that I can guide someone. Is someone does not want to seek that information that is already out there. But maybe I even did a video about it a few weeks ago.
Right.
But someone does not even want to go and look for videos. Listen, like you've mentioned, you've watched Kenyan American Home videos from even way before. You've taken your time, did your research. Just for guys who are listening, be ready to seek that information. Take your time. Don't expect ready cooked food and be served and everything is ready. Like I remember in my view when I started the green card journey, man, every day you'd never find me on social media. You'd never find me hanging out with friends. I was reading the dv.state.gov website. I was on there. You would ask me every corner of that website. I read about it like the way you would prepare for a mock exam before.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but that even when I'm engaging with these guys at the embassy, I am quoting things from their website.
Yes.
I'm actually quoting information they've provided. So they knew I know my stuff. They can play me. So just seek that information so that you're confident when you go there. How batishi.
Very true.
Yeah. Very and true. About what you said about Sazingina, it's like wameamka na mgumba, they woke up on the wrong side of the bed so that they are denied. So that means they will deny people visa. Sometimes they have like, maybe in a day, sometimes they have 10 visas to give and they have 200 interviewees, right? So basically one small thing, they will just look at you and you don't look prepared, go. You don't look prepared, go.
Exactly. True.
Yeah. So
they're also under a lot of pressure, but they're also very equipped. Like they're trained on what to look at. So
yeah, they are under a lot of pressure because
you can imagine they have like less than 2 minutes or a minute to look at your documents online on their system and like make a decision on whether to say yes or no or maybe.
Right. Yeah, actually, I was listening to some. Actually, he's a former immigration officer. I'm not sure about the name, but he was saying they have a maximum of 3 minutes to look at your profile, your documents, and decide. He actually was the guy who was denying people visas, and he was like, by the time you come to us, your portal is ready. We open your portal. If you don't have something, if you start giving us stories, something we've not even asked about, you're gone. Be straight to the point. Do you have this? Yes or no? Unless they tell you, explain or expound. Do not even add any salt or sugar.
Yes, exactly.
Yes or no, because they are under pressure to perform in 3 minutes and make a decision. And the other concern is the number of applicants versus the visas available. It's very difficult to just listen to everybody. So equip yourself with knowledge and be confident.
Yep. I agree.
Shukran sana.
Thanks, man.
All right. Our guys, our viewers, thank you for showing up. You guys would have chosen to be anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be here. We wish you, Moses, all the best. Na ukifika MAJUU bana, usisahau bana. Fika, hit me up so that we can link up.
Of course, man. I've been looking for you guys. Kwanza wewe nitakutafuta kwanza.
Nitafute kabisa manze juu it's such a humbling experience when you speak to somebody before they leave or when they're through the process, and then they tell you that I'm already in the States, or someone is in the States and they tell you, I used to listen to you before I came. It's such a humbling experience. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think I look forward to that time.
Yeah.
Maybe we can be back here and talk about this. So yeah.
Sawa Joe. Shukran manze. I will
Thank you, man.
I'm not on WhatsApp, but I'll find a way to so that we can be chatting more often, because sometimes email you chelewa.
Yeah, true.
All right, manze. All the best and big up.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Joe.
All right.
Bye.